Good morning, team. It's Miss E here. Today is Monday, May 11th. I hope that you all had a great weekend. There are only 13 days of school left, team. So I'm super excited to jump into these last few weeks with you and finish out the year strong. If you haven't completed your Hello Morning survey, please go and do that now. Remember, this is really important for us to use for attendance. So please go take care of that now. Thanks. Let's jump into our science and COVID-19 fact of the day. So there is something called contact tracing, which is basically using technology to help map out the path that COVID-19 is following. Let's watch this quick video.
When a patient is diagnosed with an infectious disease like COVID-19, an important step in slowing the transmission of the disease is contact tracing. Contact tracing seeks to identify the people who have had close contact with the infected individual and who therefore may be infected themselves. This targeted strategy reduces the need for stay-at-home periods. However, manual contact tracing is subject to a person's ability to recall everyone they have come in contact with over a 2-week period. There is need for an automated, privacy-preserving contact tracing system. MIT is developing one such system. Cell phones are constantly advertising their presence using Bluetooth. These advertisements, which we call chirps, can be anonymous and contain no location data or personally identifiable information. Every phone stores a list of all the chirps that it has sent and all the chirps it has overheard from nearby phones within arm's reach. The MIT system utilizes these lists to enable contact tracing for people diagnosed with COVID-19. This system not only identifies contacts, it also estimates the distance between individuals, as well as the amount of time they spent in close proximity to each other. When a person is diagnosed with COVID-19, public health professionals would coordinate with the patient to upload the list of chirps sent out by their phone to a public database. Meanwhile, people who have not been diagnosed can have their phones do a daily scan of the public database to see if their phones have overheard any of the chirps used by people later diagnosed with COVID-19. This indicates that they were in close, prolonged contact with that anonymous individual. Depending on the circumstances of contact, they may be referred to the public health authorities, who may recommend varying courses of action, including symptom watch, testing, and self-quarantine.
Okay, so some of the pros that have been outlined regarding this policy of contact tracing are, first off, for public health. So people are saying that the data would be really useful for hospitals. It would be really useful for trends and identifying those people who have been in contact with someone who tested positive for COVID-19. Some of the pros is that it could also help get the country opened back up sooner, as like shelter-in-place orders would only be needed where the contact with individuals who have tested positive would need to be, and those people who have not tested positive or been in contact with someone who tested positive could have some more of their freedoms back. On the con side, people are saying, like, how would this data be stored? Could it be sold? Could it be used in the future? Folks are also worried about surveillance. So let's say that I do test positive for COVID-19. Does that mean that my data is going to be stored somewhere and then I'm going to be watched to see, other infectious diseases, things like that? So these are some of the pros and cons that have been outlined regarding contact tracing. So in Google Classroom, I want you to go answer this question. Just attach it to the post. Okay, in your opinion, what's more important, privacy or public health? Do you feel contact tracing is necessary to help control this disease, Or do you feel like it's a violation of privacy? So go to this post in Google Classroom and answer that question. Go. Great team. Now let's move into our science lesson for today. Today we're going to go back to Unit 8 and we're going to talk a little bit more about adaptations. Our objective today, you will be able to examine STAR questions related to adaptations and select the answer choice that matches the adaptation to the specific need for survival. So on our Unit 8 quiz, most of the frequently missed questions were related to adaptations. Now, we know that plants and animals experience lots of adaptations, and so what I think is the challenge is identifying which adaptation actually meets which specific need for the animal's survival. So here's one of the questions from our quiz. The question asks, plants need sunlight to perform photosynthesis. In the tropical rainforest, the survival of a plant depends on its ability to adapt in order to reach sunlight. Which of the following is an example of one such adaptation? We have vines that wrap around a tree, thin shallow roots that run across the forest floor, numerous small leaves on one stem, and colorful petals. So we're going to jump into these answer choices in a moment. Solving problems related to adaptations can be tricky because you must look at theoretical scenarios and choose the one that makes the most sense. So what this means is that you're looking at lots of different scenarios and you actually have to think about every single one and which one applies the most, and they can be a little bit tricky. When solving these problems, we can look for some clues to help us choose the correct answer. So we're going to have some updated Ruby strategies related specifically to adaptations. So our first three are going to be the same. Our first three Ruby steps will be the same. Now, when we get to identify key concepts, I've added a couple steps in here that I think will really help. First, you need to ask yourself, what information does the question give me about the organism and its survival? So usually the question will contain specific information about what's needed for that organism's survival. B, what change has occurred in the environment? So sometimes the question will ask you about a specific change, and we need to think about what is that and what resulting change would occur in the organism. Next, when we're eliminating incorrect answer choices, we need to read every answer choice and ask, would the adaptation in the answer address the need for survival? So let's take a look at the question from our quiz. Plants need sunlight to perform photosynthesis. In the tropical rainforest, the survival of a plant depends on its ability to adapt in order to reach sunlight. Which of the following is an example of one such adaptation? So first, this is my added step, okay? What information does the question give you about the organism and its survival? So here we are talking about plants. It tells us that plants need sunlight, and it tells us that in the rainforest, the plants need to adapt or change to reach the sunlight, okay? It says its ability to adapt. It depends on its ability to adapt in order to reach the sunlight. So we know that plants don't only need sunlight to survive, but this particular question is talking about the plant's ability to get to the sunlight. So next we want to make sure that we read every answer choice and ask, would the adaptation address the change in the environment? So here we have vines that wrap around the tree. I'm looking for an answer choice that will respond to the plant's ability to get sunlight. So if I have vines that are wrapping around the tree, this would allow the plant to get closer to the sun. So this might be my correct answer choice. Next, thin, shallow roots that run across the forest floor. Now, these roots could run across the forest floor, and that makes me think that they could get us more access to water. We know that plants need water, and we know that this is an adaptation that would help them do that. But this does not relate to the specific question of reaching sunlight. So I know that this is not my correct answer choice. Numerous small leaves on one stem. Again, this would maybe allow the plant to get more energy through photosynthesis, but the numerous small leaves aren't going to help it get closer to the sun. So I know that this is not the correct answer choice. And then colorful petals. Colorful petals is an adaptation that plants experience, but again, this does not help the plant reach sunlight. So I know that my correct answer choice is A. Let's look at another example. Here's an example. Let's read the question together. The picture above shows the effect of air pollution on a population of moths. The moths on the left were greater in number before population darkened the trees. The moths on the right were greater in number after population darkened the trees. Which statement best explains how this change occurred? So, let's look at what our key concepts are here, okay? What information does the question give me about the organism and its survival? So we know that the organism is moths, and the question seems to relate to air pollution, okay? So the moths have had to make some adaptations resulting from air pollution in their color, okay? B, what change has occurred in the environment and what resulting change would occur in the organism? So we know from the question that the change is that there's differing amounts of air pollution that have darkened the trees, okay? The change that has occurred in the organism is that the organisms have changed their color. Now, let's look at our answer choices. A, the light moths were better adapted to the environment before it changed. B, as the trees darkened, dark moths became less visible to predators. C, light moths and dark moths eat different foods. D, dark moths were less competitive than light moths. So let's look and see which one of these actually speaks to the problem. Okay. D, I'm going to eliminate right away because the dark moths being less competitive than light moths doesn't really have anything to do with the changes that have occurred. C, light moths and dark moths eat different foods. The question doesn't say anything about food availability and them changing their diet, okay? It has to do with the air pollution and camouflaging into the tree. So I'm going to eliminate C right away. So that leaves me with A and B. A, the light moths were better adapted to the environment before it changed. Now, we learned that an adaptation is actually a change in response to a change in the environment. So this doesn't make sense because the change hasn't actually happened yet. So let's look at B. As the trees darkened, dark moths became less visible to predators. So as the trees changed, the moth color changed as well so that the moths could still camouflage. So I know that B is going to be my correct answer choice. When I say go, you're going to go to the next section of this Google form and you're going to use the updated Rubies for Adaptation steps to solve the problems. This is a graded assignment, so if you didn't do as well as you would have liked on your Unit 8 quiz, this grade will help boost that up. Then you're going to turn it in Google Classroom. Of course, if you have any questions, you can email me, call me, text me, chat me on GoGuardian, and hopefully I will hear from you today. And of course, let me know if I can help you in any way. Bye, team. Have a great day.